parsha of the construction of the sanctuary in the desert with its various utensils and essential items which are in the Mishkan. So we're discussing about the Aron, which is one of the centerpieces, if not the centerpiece of the sanctuary itself, the Ark, which housed within them the Ten Commandments, and this was placed in the Holy of Holies. In this chamber, the Holy of Holies, the only person who was allowed to enter the Holy of Holies was the holiest of all people, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, on the holiest of all days, which is Yom Kippur. So you had a convergence of the holiest within time, person, and place coming together, entering the Holy of Holies. And what was in there? It was the Ark. There was also the staff of Aaron, a sampling of the manna, but essentially it was the Ark. That was what was in the Aron, in the Holy of Holies. Now, in the Ark itself, what was in there? Well, it had the Ten Commandments, both the broken tablets, the first shattered tablets, the first set, and the second set were inside the Ark. The reason why they were both there, even though one can say perhaps the first set of tablets maybe should have been buried. Why are they there?
Okay.
The Rebbe shared an insight that when the Kohen Gadol entered into the Holy of Holies, the Kohen Gadol had to represent each and every single Jew. Just as in Yom Kippur, we open up the services of Yom Kippur, that Aldas HaMokim, Aldas HaKohol, with the permission of the heavenly tribunal, with the permission of the congregation, we pray together with those who transgress. The Jewish community is made up of what's called Tzibur, Tzaddik, Beinani, and Rishoyim, which is righteous people, intermediary people, and even those who transgress. We are one community. And the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, had to represent each and every single Jew when he entered the Holy of Holies. And that was represented by the two different sets. The first set, the Jewish people were in a state which would be comparable to a tzaddik, righteous, just like a child who is innocent. The Jewish people being emancipated, being freed from Egypt, freed from bondage, the birth of the Jewish people, they experience all the miracles, and they're now at the foot of Mount Sinai receiving the set of tablets, the set of the Ten Commandments. The Jewish people in this state were in a state of righteousness, like a tzaddik, like a child who is totally pure. Shortly thereafter, with the miscalculation of Moses not coming down, what happened, and there was the whole story of the fashioning of the golden calf. As a result of that, Moses comes down and he breaks the tablets. But then the Jewish people return to Moses, and they're filled with remorse and regret. Please ask God for forgiveness, and we will ask for forgiveness here. And Moses begs God for forgiveness, and ultimately, after a full set of 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Sinai, God tells him, come back up the mountain and prepare tablets in order that I will inscribe the Ten Commandments as I did the first time. So after this set of 40 days on Yom Kippur, God gives Moses the second set of tablets. And this is the set of tablets which are intact and in the ark. This set of tablets represents the individual who is repentant, Baal Teshuvah, not perfect. After all, there was a major difference between the first set and the second set. The first set of tablets were completely fashioned by God, inscribed by God and fashioned by God, the handiwork of God. This was God's handiwork. The Talmud describes that it was miraculous. As mentioned yesterday, the tablets were cube. And yet, whichever way you held the Ten Commandments, you were able to read them in its entirety. In fact, there are letters like the Mem and the Samach, which if it's something which is engraved through and through, the Mem and the Samach have like the bagel hole.
Right.
So if it's something which is through and through, how does the hole stay in?
Aha.
So the Talmud says that was miraculous, how the hole stayed in.
Aha.
So the first set were miraculous, a miraculous set of commandments in the handiwork of God. The second set, God tells Moses, you prepare the stone, prepare the tablets, which were made of sapphire, and God will inscribe.
Salacha.
Right, so Aseh is the prepare the stone, and God will inscribe it. Because after Alechem, I will write upon them, I'll inscribe upon them like I did the first ones. So it was God's handiwork, but at the same time, you had the human involvement. It was Moses' work. He prepared the tablets themselves. Just like a person who is a Baal Teshuvah, a person who is repentant, a person who blazes his own path, a trailblazer, returning back to his natural self. So a person who returns back to their observance, it takes a lot of self-effort, a lot of personal effort. It's not just something which he was just brought up with. He has to retrain many different habits, many different tendencies that they were used to, were used to, and now they have to undo into observing Torah mitzvahs. So it represents all different people. However, seemingly it doesn't represent the transgressor. It doesn't represent the person who has changed their way of life. It represents the two tablets, two sets of tablets represent a person who is fully righteous. It represents a person who returns to their observance of Torah and mitzvahs. But where do we see the representation of the individual who transgresses?
Golden calf.
And here we have the broken tablets. Moses does not put together the first tablets. He doesn't put them back together again.
Aha.
You may think that, maybe there wasn't Gorilla Glue.
Yeah, okay. And a jigsaw puzzle. You put them all together.
Get something together, put it together. There must be some way of putting them together.
Uh-huh.
And certainly they were so precious, Moses could put them back together then. Yeah.
Right.
The Humpty Dumpty of the tablets. But he doesn't. He leaves them in their broken state. Because the truth is, even the person who does transgress, no one is perfect, everyone transgresses to some level or another. As the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, there's no person who does not have any regret. At one point or another, a person has some regret over what they did. They feel broken. They feel devastated about something that they did wrong. They feel broken inside. And that person is represented as well. That person is not left behind. On the contrary, those precious broken stones were gathered together one by one, piece by piece, not leaving a piece behind. Every broken piece was brought in. This represents, really in essence, the Jew of Yom Kippur. The Jew that we are to represent on Yom Kippur. Every Jew is represented on Yom Kippur. But what's fascinating about Yom Kippur is that it's a day that no matter what level of observance, they feel connected. It's beyond separation, beyond segregation, beyond this person's a tzaddik, this person's about tshuva, this person, he's a rasha. Every Jew is represented and we're all one. We're all one. And this was the message of the tablets, the message of the ark. Next week, we're going to be celebrating a very special holiday of Purim. Next Thursday, the 25th and 26th, Thursday night and Friday, the very special holiday of Purim. In the Zohar says, we'll discuss more about this next week, that Yom Kippur is referred to as Yom HaKippurim, which literally means the Day of Atonement, but it's a plural, atonements. It could also be read Yom HaKippurim, the day like Purim.
What does that mean? I've heard that before.
We'll discuss more about that, but what it means is, just like you have one day, which is Yom Kippur, a day of transcendence, a day that we are connected deep inside in a transcendent way, in a spiritual way. There's also the one day of the year, which is Purim, a day which is also a day that unites all Jews, because God forbid the annihilation, the decree to annihilate all Jews was one decree for everyone, not just for the religious Jews, not just for the ones who identify themselves clearly as Jews. It was for every Jew. And every Jew identified themselves with that. No Jew, as the Alter Rebbe said, they could have easily saved themselves by walking away and said, I don't identify myself as Jewish. I identify myself differently now. And that would have saved them. But they did not. Yom Kippur is a day of unity, a day of intense holiness, a day that represents the essence of the Jew on a spiritual level. Purim represents the essence of the Jew down here, even on the physical, material level. And therefore, it's celebrated with material things, with not with transcendence, with asceticism, but with joy, deep joy, by giving gifts of food for another, by giving gifts, monetary gifts to those who are impoverished, and by having a special Suda, a special feast, and by hearing the sacred scroll of Esther, the Megillah being read both Thursday night and Friday. So we have an opportunity of a deja vu with Yom Kippur. If only this message will be spread to more and more Jews. We all go out of our way to celebrate Yom Kippur. The day of fasting, though. It's a day which has a lot. We spend a long time in the shul, which is very holy, very spiritual, very special. But if people only knew that we have another opportunity now, and this opportunity is Purim, And this Purim, on the celebration of Purim, we are able to celebrate and reach the levels, the heights of Yom Kippur, but with joy, with celebration, with pomp and festivities. So it's our job to get the word out. This Purim, no Jew should be left behind. This Purim, we should celebrate with greater joy, with greater celebration. Of course, in a very safe way, in a proper way. But we're not going to allow anything to stand in the way of celebrating Purim this year, 5/7/8/1/2021.
Okay.
So let's do it in the greatest way and in the most joyous way.
Okay. Thank you.
Rabbi, I have one question.
Yes.
You said repeatedly that both sets of the Ten Commandments, whole and broken, were in the Ark. But if I recall correctly, the Or HaChaim takes the position that a Torah scroll was also in the Ark. So there could have been a Torah scroll as well, correct?
The Talmud discusses it, the Tractate Brachos.
Yeah.
There are two opinions in the Tractate Brachos. When it discusses in Deuteronomy that you shall inscribe them, you should write them, you should write the Torah, you should place it. You should place it by the Aron. There are two opinions in the Talmud. One opinion is that it was in the Aron, and the Talmud describes that this is when we were discussing about there was no extra space in the Ark. So the Talmud goes on to describe, according to this, was the Torah inside the Ark or outside the Ark? So there are two opinions. One was that it was inside the Ark. Another one that was a little ledge, and that off of the Ark, on the Ark itself, and that's where the Sefer Torah was placed.
Is one of them majority and one minority, or are both equally legitimate?
These are equal opinions, and that's how it's left. Even though clearly you can see how it was, but that's how the Talmud leaves it. Because there's a message there as well. And that message is that we have to have both. We have to internalize the Torah, make it a part of us deep, deep inside. And secondly, it also has to be easily accessible, on the go, wherever we go. Take it with us.
Okay.
Easily accessible Torah, which is visible and out there. Not only accessible, but also this was like a ledge, sort of like a stepping stone or a conduit, where there is no separation between the Ark and the world. There is the Torah, which is in the Ark, and then there is that conduit or that segue that connects the Torah, which is in the Ark, with the world, which is outside the Ark.
Rabbi, I have a question. Is there any significance to the fact that the word, the Aharon and